Hi, I am Miss McLin, and this is McLin Course U.S. History. And today we are going to discuss inventions and how technological changes influence how people interacted with the environment. Miss McLin, why are you making a video like the ones that we watch in class with John Green? Well, you see, being in quarantine makes you do crazy things. So today we are going to go over inventions that came about during the industrial and the transportation revolutions, the ones that we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks. This led to more innovations that helped with some business owners as well as making life easier at home. So let's take a look at the thought bubble. So, the first invention that I want to talk to you about is interchangeable parts. So, before the invention of interchangeable parts, guns were made by hand, and therefore no two guns were exactly alike. Repairs had to be made by hand as well. And as you can imagine, that is time consuming and costly. And also, think about during a war, if your gun broke, that was a huge deal. It wasn't like they could go to the store and buy a new one and fix it up real quick. And so when the United States government hired Eli Whitney to make 10,000 muskets for the Army in 1797, he knew there had to be a better and faster way to make them. If every part was exactly alike, he could interchange them. The idea for interchangeable parts was born. Parts that are exactly alike. The idea spread, and soon machines created parts for clocks, locks, and other goods. Eventually, small workshops soon turned into factories using interchangeable parts, which sped up production. And so, with interchangeable parts, repairs could be made more quickly and easily. Less skilled workers could be used to assemble the items, and so they could be paid less. This was a huge benefit for business owners. And also, people that did not go to school or did not have an education that lost their jobs, they could pick up this job easily. They could make money for their family. And also, assembling items would be much faster. So we have more goods being made. And so, with interchangeable parts, I want to connect this to economics. So, mass production led to create more goods for the marketplace. And so, mass production requires these three things it requires one, interchangeable parts. That is just a fancy word for identical parts so that there isn't a need for a custom made part, which could be more expensive and more time consuming to make. Two, machine tools. So, machines that are able to make these parts that are identical and therefore interchangeable, we need those to make the parts. And also, three, division of labor. Work is divided among several people doing a certain task. And so think about the assembly line. Okay, so think about Ford. They have mass amount of people making a car. One person is their job is for the wheels, one is for the seats. They are doing a certain task. And so the end result is that more goods are mass produced. So the second invention that I want to talk to you about is the steamboat. So in 1807, Robert Fulton launched his steamboat called the Clermont. This new boat had a steam engine that turned two paddle wheels, which pulled the boat through the water. This was so powerful that it could move against the current or even against a strong wind. Many people doubted this new steamboat would work and called it Fulton's Folly. The Clermont made a successful trip from New York to Albany even faster than even Fulton expected. With the invention of the steamboat, people, goods, and supplies could travel further and move at a faster rate. Within a few years, steamboats were seen on the Mississippi River traveling upstream. The third invention is the steel plow. Improvements of farming tools made life easier for farmers. Older plows were made out of heavy cast iron and worked well in the sandy soil of New England. But when farmers moved west, they encountered a very different type of soil, which was heavy and thick. This heavy soil would stick to the old type of plow, making it difficult to prepare the ground for farming. John Deere invented a lightweight plow with a steel cutting edge. This made working with a heavy, rich soil in the Midwest easier and faster to plow. Inventions such as a steel plow encouraged farmers to move west. So, not only did John Deere create the steel plow, but he also led to Deere and Company. And most of you probably heard of John Deere tractors. And one of the inspirations of Jason Aldean is him singing about taking his girl out on a big green tractor. Ride on my big green tractor, we can go slow, or make it go faster, down through the woods, and out to the pasture, long as I'm with you, it really don't matter. Climb up in my lap, and drive if you want to, girl, you know you got me to hold on to. We can go to town, but baby, if you'd rather, I'll take you for a ride on my big green tractor. The fourth invention is the mechanical reaper and threshing machine. And so prior to the invention of the mechanical reaper, harvesting grain was done by hand with a scythe, like a large curved knife at the end of a pole. This limited the amount of grains that could be produced by a landowner. So Cyrus McCormick invented the mechanical reaper, which automatically cut off the grain while being pulled by a team of horses. The threshing machine threshed, loosened the edible part of the grain from the inedible parts, thus making the harvesting of grain faster and easier. These farming inventions dramatically increased farming production and led to more farmers moving west. Now, I don't want you to get this confused with the McCormick spices that you can get at your local Kroger. This is a completely different person. So now it's time for the mystery quote, where I will give you a quote about our next invention and see who the inventor actually is. And so, one man will clean 10 times as much cotton as he can in any other way before known, and also clean it much better than in the usual mode or method. This machine may be turned by water or with a horse with the greatest ease, and one man with a horse will do more than 50 men with the old machine. And so let me give you 3 seconds to try to figure out who it is. 3, 2, 1. And it is Eli Whitney again. And this is quoted in Eli Whitney and the Birth of American Technology by Constance McLaughlin Green. Fifth invention is the cotton gin. And so in 1793, Eli Whitney invented another invention called the cotton gin. And America was forever changed by this very important invention. So cotton seeds were very difficult to separate from cotton. Therefore, a worker, usually a slave, could only produce 1 pound of cotton per day by hand. The invention of the cotton gin made the cotton cleaning process much more efficient and faster. Cotton production increased dramatically when using the cotton gin, and a worker could produce 50 pounds per day. Once the cotton gin became widely used in the South, the demand for cotton grew dramatically, and the need for slavery increased. Cotton became very valuable, and more plantation owners planted cotton. Plantation owners in the South went looking for more land to the west. Sometimes Native Americans were removed from their land so that the cotton could be grown. Cotton became king of the South for decades to come. And so this is known as the cotton boom. And this area from the South all the way over to Texas is called the Cotton Belt. And so the cotton gin made cotton so profitable that it led to Southern farmers to abandon their crops and start producing more cotton. And we talked about in the Indian Removal Act that Native Americans were removed. And so this gave Americans more land to produce throughout the South and as far as Texas. And also, production increased from 2 million pounds in 1791 to a billion pounds in 1860. The last invention I want to talk about is the telegraph. And so communication changed forever with the invention of the telegraph by Samuel Morse. In 1837, he unveiled his machine that could send pulses of electricity long and short along a wire. These pulses, called Morse code, were translated into letters to make messages. Before the telegraph, it used to take days or weeks to send a letter. Now it only took seconds to communicate with someone across the country using Morse code. However, despite this achievement, people doubted his machine. Some people did not think that he was reading messages sent from miles away. They claimed that he was making lucky guesses. And so Morse's break came during the 1844 Democratic National Convention in Baltimore, Maryland, when the first message was sent from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland. So telegraph lines were installed connecting major cities across the country. Almost instantly, the nation was brought together with faster communication, which allowed businesses to grow. The telegraph grew with the railroad. Telegraph companies strung their wires on poles along railroads across the country. They established telegraph offices and many train stations. Thousands of miles of telegraph lines were added every year in the 1850s. The first continental line was finished in 1861. By the time that Morse died in 1872, he was famous across the United States. So, new machines and inventions changed the way Americans lived and did business in the early 1800s. New inventions such as cell phones, laptops, microwaves continue to make life easier and more convenient for people today. So that is all for today. Thanks for watching. The main reason that I made this video is because I watch Crash Course with my students, and so I just wanted to make something for them to make them smile during this time. McLin course, U.S. History, was made and directed by me. I use Screencastify as the recording stuff, and so I wrote the script. The PowerPoint that you saw today was made from active history teacher Elizabeth Crumby, and the title is posted below. And so you can get that on Teachers Play Teacher. So make sure that you support a teacher today. And so the extra stuff that I made 2 slides during that PowerPoint. And so the information that I used was from U.S. History beginnings to 1877 from Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston. And so thank you again for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Just remember, stay safe at home and we will get through this. Thank you. Bye.